Games test and thrill us, but some have also been able to make players fall out of their chairs in uncontrollable laughter.
Sword fighting is kind of like making love.
Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we'll be counting down the top 5 funny video games. Number 5, Leisure Suit Larry. Comedy is often hit or miss. Most of the time, game laughs are unintentional, but believe it or not, there have been several franchises that made comedy a central focus.
Well, it looks like somebody's already shivered that poor little timber. That son of a...
This is immediately apparent in the case of the Leisure Suit Larry point-and-click adventure franchise, a comedy series created by programmer Al Lowe. Throughout the years, gamers have been lured in with various misguided adventures that have them take on the awkward role of middle-aged virgin Larry Laffer. Since its debut in 1987, his raunchy sexual escapades have consistently managed to blindside us with countless outrageous moments and its focus on Larry's inability to seduce women.
She was great, now she's turned gay. Oh, lesbian nights.
Number 4, Portal. Valve, the company responsible for the Half-Life franchise, surprised everyone with their leap into dark comedy.
Uh-oh, somebody cut the cake. I told them to wait for you.
Releasing their first-person puzzler in 2007, eager players quickly found themselves in the uncomfortable position of scientific test subjects wielding a portal-throwing cannon. While the challenges seemed harmless at first, the players quickly realized that the artificial intelligence running the test, called Gladys, was quite insane. Players couldn't help but giggle from the absurdity of her deadly mind games, promise of cake, and free therapy when it was all over. In fact, she almost had us all believing that a metal box with a heart painted on it, called the Companion Cube, was our best friend. Plus, the game ended in a memorable song that was both devilishly witty and chuckle-inducing.
Anyway, this cake is great. It's so delicious and moist.
Number 3, Grim Fandango. Tim Schafer, the programmer behind several iconic franchises, made his comedic genius well known with the computer-based game Grim Fandango.
I'm visualizing.
Along with unconventional humor about the land of the dead, it became well known for its vast array of quirky characters and interactions.
Intimidating, me, but I'm your friend. My name's Manny Calavera.
Based around the exploits of Manny Calavera, a travel agent for the recently deceased, players traveled through the underworld meeting wacky clients in order to pay off his debt.
What did you say, little kitty?
Number 2, Conker's Bad Fur Day. Originally envisioned as a cute platformer for young audiences, Rare reshaped their game about a wily squirrel into a raunchy M-rated laugh riot for the Nintendo 64.
What the f*** is that bloody squirrel?
Earning its adult rating, the game made extensive use of graphic violence, film parody, sexuality, and toilet humor. The game was so unique and infamous that it was remade years later for the Xbox in order to please its cult following of rabid gamers. No other game has been able to shock us into such guilty giggles like Conker's Bad Fur Day. And did we mention it featured a catchy musical by a giant poo monster?
I'm going to throw my shit at you.
Number 1, the Monkey Island series. The pinnacle of swashbuckling silliness from Ron Gilbert and the rest of the talented team at LucasArts get the number 1 spot.
So, you want to be a pirate, eh? You look more like a flooring inspector.
Not only did it bring us intelligent and witty humor for all ages, but every line was lovingly crafted with precision to keep the mood light, the adventures wild, and the overall tone comedic.
Can I call you Bob?
You may call me Murray.
And no one can forget the antics of Murray, the wonderfully evil and deranged skull that taunted Guybrush Threepwood.
Oh, it's just you again.
Just your most terrifying image of evil revisited.
While many of these comedies are classics, they can still make us laugh with their unusual brand of situational humor. Gamers who were too young to enjoy the unique or adult comedy offered by these games should track down a copy and enjoy a good laugh.
You're about as fearsome as a doorstop.
Is it a really evil-looking doorstop?
Most gamers love a good scare. That's why developers have created creepy, shocking, and downright disturbing moments in games. These are the 5 most memorable scares in gaming.
5.
Fear is a game you definitely don't want to play at night. This shooter mixes action with a creepy atmosphere and a little girl called Alma. The moment she first appears gave most gamers the scare of a lifetime.
4.
Nobody forgets their first encounter with a zombie in Resident Evil. The creepy mansion in this survival horror game is filled with terror. Who doesn't get scared by dogs crashing through windows and zombies jumping out of closets?
3.
The feeling of being followed can be really frightening. The mannequin room in Condemned plays in this fear, with dolls creeping up on you when you're not looking. It made an overall scary game that much more disturbing.
2.
The Ocean Hotel in Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines is one of the scariest levels ever made. The fact that you are a vampire doesn't help you one bit in this haunted hotel. Be careful. The scares range from subtle to less subtle, but are always extremely effective.
1.
Revisiting the Ishimura in Dead Space 2 proves that the threat of combat is scarier than combat itself. It takes a really long time before you encounter monsters in this abandoned space station, and that's exactly what makes it terrifying. And of course, we had to include the eyeball scene.
Here.
And Larson.
Top 10 video games we want to see as movies. Number 10. Oregon Trail. You have died of dysentery.
With those words, an educational 80s phenomena was born.
Made popular in the early 80s across the earliest computer-equipped elementary school classrooms, the Oregon Trail let tiny tot gamers role-play as settlers trekking across the West in the 19th century.
Facing a wealth of taxing conditions, pioneers were required to hunt, ration supplies, and avoid disease and snake bites.
A movie adaptation for the Oregon Trail could make for some powerful material, perhaps if it was helmed by Werner Herzog, whose films Aguirre, Wrath of God, and Grizzly Man served as the ultimate statements on what happens when man comes into conflict with nature.
Nature wins.
Spoiler alert! Number 9! Battlezone! This is a selfish entry, seeing as this early 80s PC game was just a bunch of green vector shapeforms of tanks and targets. Still, this was the first shooter I ever played, so here it is. Thoughts, Larson?
A challenge, but not a hard one. First off, the movie would have to be made back in the late 60s or early 70s, given the lack of sophistication in the vehicles and setting. I see this as a Logan's Run-esque sci-fi thriller about a post-nuclear 1997 Earth, where the former United States government is now a fractured mess, a group of factions warring over territories in the Battlezone.
Starring Tom Courtenay, Peter Ustinov, and Geraldine Chaplin in a role that nearly kills her career. This is a flick you can't miss. Or it's a flick you stick on your Netflix instant queue and keep skipping over in favor of episodes of Arrested Development.
Michael.
Number 8. Rampage.
This 80s arcade classic brought together alternative versions of King Kong, Godzilla, and, well, a giant werewolf to cause havoc and mass destruction across a major U.S. city.
The film version of this is what should have happened back in 1998 when the Independence Day team of Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin teamed up for the lackluster American Godzilla remake. Those two are adept at making big, stupid event flicks, and maybe without the weight of the Godzilla legacy on their shoulders, a Rampage adaptation could have brought the fun that was severely lacking in the Godzilla reboot.
Seeing how Emmerich in particular enjoys unadulterated destruction in such films as the previously mentioned ID4, The Day After Tomorrow, and last year's hilariously brain-dead 2012, Rampage would seem to be right up his alley.
Number 7. Red Dead Redemption. The tale of John Marston is ripe for the big screen. The complex tale of, well, redemption in the rapidly evolving frontier is teeming with vibrant characters, gritty violence, and, well, tons of horse skinning.
A tale of this scope is custom made for one man, Clint Eastwood. Although Dirty Harry's latest batch of films haven't exactly been the cream of the crop, let us not forget this is the man with no name we're talking about here. And his days acting under director Sergio Leone makes him the man for the job.
It was his genre-defining role in these spaghetti westerns that led Clint to direct the 1992 Best Picture Oscar winner Unforgiven. And maybe a return to the Old West is exactly what it needs to get back on track.
And who better to star as John Marston than Timothy Olyphant, who played basically the same character on the other side of the law in the critically acclaimed HBO series Deadwood.
On the other hand, Clint may find inspiration in his Every Which Way But Loose, and toss a monkey in there too.
A win-win situation for all of us.
Number 6. Custer's Revenge. So, this would just be a porno, right?
Oh, most definitely.
Number 5. Monkey Island. The misadventures of Guybrush Threepwood have spanned 5 games over 20 years, so its legacy and built-in audience would translate to box office gold, assuming the filmmakers stuck to the spirit of the source material.
I'd look no further than the team behind the 2009 DreamWorks adaptation of Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Directors Phil Lord and Christopher Miller took Judy and Ron Barrett's hit kids book and adapted it into a box office smash.
On the other hand, LucasArts developed the game, so maybe the Star Wars guru himself could segue into some non-Wars animated fare?
Yeah, so he could ruin Monkey Island the way he ruined my fucking childhood.
Ooh, the bitter is strong in this one. Number 4. Tetris! Alright, I'll bite. What the fuck is the classic puzzler doing here, Larson?
Tetris has a fascinating history, friendo. I see this movie as the gaming version of The Social Network, featuring an actor with a really good Russian accent playing Alexei Pajitnov, the creator of Tetris. Maybe that little fella who played Chekhov in the Star Trek Reboot.
Ah, Anton Yelchin. Got it. So the movie would chronicle the legal dispute surrounding the 1984 creation and subsequent brouhaha over the rights of the game.
His story and the wildfire-like success of Tetris could make for some stunning cinema, and since everyone's played the game, there's an instant audience for it in waiting.
Number 3. Dead Space. Ah, the sci-fi thriller that puts gamers in the role of engineer turned necromorph killer Isaac Clarke, set to be revisited in this spring sequel.
There's been a dearth of good, smart, dark sci-fi thrillers in recent years, with the exception of the less than exceptional Pandorum. Well, let's go back to 1997's cult classic Event Horizon starring Cowboy Curtis and Sam Neill to find a good, solid sci-fi outing.
So I'm thinking letting director Paul W.S. Anderson take a crack at the Dead Space adaptation would be a good way to let him atone for the sins of his past, including Aliens vs. Predator and Death Race.
As Mr. Anderson has delivered arguably the only true successful video game movie franchise to date, I'd say giving him a go at the Dead Space series is a no-brainer. But who would play the good Mr. Clarke?
I would think my dishwasher drainage grill.
Brilliant.
Number 2. Heavy Rain. The hunt for the origami killer captivated gamers in Quantic Dream's thriller whodunit Heavy Rain.
Spinning 4 separate but intertwining tales, Heavy Rain was perhaps the most cinematic video game to date. A film adaptation would seem almost redundant, yeah?
Doesn't mean I wouldn't want to see it. In fact, I'm thinking Inception and Dark Knight Helmer Chris Nolan would be the ideal fit for this project, given his deft handling of the multi-dream level plot device of Inception.
Not to mention the amnesia-inspired mystery thriller Memento, his 2000 breakout film. But I'm curious, friendo, who do you see starring in this Heavy Rain adaptation?
Easy! As Private Detective Scott Shelby, we'll let Alec Baldwin stray from his recent career shift into comedy and take on a role with weight, both emotional and physical. As Hottie Madison, I'm thinking Jessica Biel, who showed she has the chops to pull off a heavy role in her 2007 stripper movie, Powder Blue, in which she also shows her boobs.
Stay on track, Steve. Okay then, who'd you cast as desperate father Ethan Mars?
You! Larson!
Yes! It's the role of a lifetime! Fuck this pedestrian internet shit. I'm on to bigger and better hills, Steve. See you in the pictures.
Oh, it's all fake, man.
See you in the pictures.
Number 1! Manhunt. The uber-violent franchise would be candy in the hands of David Fincher, who returns to his Seven roots with a turn directing the tale of the ultimate hunt, the manhunt.
No stranger to controversy, the Fight Club Helmer would be the perfect storyteller to adapt the tale of James Earl Cash, a death row inmate turned star of the most elaborate snuff film ever produced.
My pick for starring in the role of Cash would be Joseph Gordon-Levitt, whose higher profile work in such films as 500 Days of Summer and Inception makes him the perfect candidate to take on such an edgy role.
Agreed. And in the role of boss retard baddie Pigsy?
Yes.
Steve for the win!
Ah, I'd like to thank the Oscar voters, my mom, Yahweh, Steven Spielbergo, for giving me the opportunity to play a fat, murderous, retarded man. Not much of a stretch, I must admit. But on the other... Hey!
Your speech has gone on too long, friendo. Get the fuck off the stage.
Will do, home skillet. But before I do, we need to remind our friendos to friendo us on the Facebooks, where you'll find all sorts of great Stephen Larson crap, including details about our first Stephen Larson fanfic writing contest at facebook.com/Stephen Larson.
And don't leave out the Twitter, Steve, where you can find us at twitter.com/Stephen Larson. Now get off the fucking stage.
Thank you, thank you.